Hello everybody, this is Dr. Cole. It is Sunday morning, June 19th, and we're now entering week 6 of the Humanities 2333 Philosophy of Life for the summer 2022 term. Everybody, we have the class notes for units 13 and 14 on the syllabus this week. You should have gotten an announcement that we're running our last discussion Tuesday through Thursday, discussion number 3, worth up to 50 points. After that, everybody, all we have is the second written assignment, which is due in a little over a week, Monday the 27th. Okay, 8 days from when I'm speaking to you. All right, and then once we do that, all we have is the final exam that following weekend. We've got it on the syllabus for, I believe that would be Saturday and Sunday, July 2nd and 3rd. And that will be it for the summer term of 2022. So we have a discussion this week, the written assignment, and the exam in the next 2 weeks, and that will be the end of the term. So please be aware of all that. Now, the discussion is related to the material in the class notes for Unit 13 on life decisions. And we've drawn upon a work by an academic who taught me decades ago, Tom Herka, his idea about the best things in life, or the good things that we ought to pursue, or that we could pursue throughout our lives, and the decisions that we make, well, things like marriage, education, work, and career, may depend on what priority we put on various good things. And there are many of them, several of them that he lists all the way from pleasure to moral virtue, knowledge, achievement, love, and friendship. So, everyone's going to differ in the priority that they place upon those things, depending on their own talent, inclinations, temperament, and makeup. Now, for the discussion, we've also assigned you an article by Arthur Brooks from the Atlantic Monthly about making life decisions, about decisions especially about your life's work. And you'll notice that one thing he says is that the work really ought to be its own reward, among many provocative, interesting things he has to say in that essay. So look at that and look at those class notes and contribute to the discussion as to whether anything you've come across has influenced your thinking about any life decision that you may be on the verge of making or will be making in the coming years. All right, so post once, and then again in response to your classmates for a second post between Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Let's see now, that would be the 21st through the 23rd, I believe. Tuesday the 21st through Thursday the 23rd, and that will be discussion number 3 for up to 50 points. Remember, 2 of the 3 discussion scores will be counted. Okay. Everyone's done pretty well on the discussion so far, so I hope that's going to be a high grade, the best 2 out of 3 discussion scores when we total the grades to turn them in after the 4th of July. Okay, so look at the class notes for Lecture 13 on life decisions. What Professor Herka is trying to do is connect up an Aristotelian virtue ethics to an approach that you can make to your life decisions. Okay, so that goes back to what we were doing on the syllabus last week. Okay, certain good things or good capacities or virtues about yourself that you could cultivate, and which one of those are most important to you. That's one way of putting what Professor Herka is trying to do. All right, then everybody, in the notes for Unit 14, we have Kantian ethics. Now, last week we had discussed consequentialism. Kant represents a little different approach to ethics. His view of ethics is known as deontological, or you might say duty-based or non-consequentialist, because Kant is going to insist that you have an obligation to be ethical, to do the right thing, and the consequences be damned, we might say. Another way of putting that is that there is an absolute categorical imperative to be ethical. It's absolutely binding on everybody with no ifs, ands, or buts. Okay. The opposite of a categorical imperative would be a hypothetical imperative. Okay. If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That would be an example of a hypothetical imperative, a recommendation on what to do if life gives you lemons. Or if you want to take the most direct route to the supermarket, turn here and then turn there. And that's the shortest route to go to the supermarket if you want to get to the supermarket as quickly as you can. Those are all hypothetical. That's contingent on what you want to do, your own purposes. Okay, but the duty to be ethical is categorical. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay. Now, I think it's possible to interpret that in such a way that you can say that it's not that consequences don't make a difference. You have to take consequences into account. But what Kant is telling us is that we should not stop and try to calculate whether it's going to be in our interest or not to do the right thing. We should be willing to do the right thing without stopping and calculating in that way, because of the sort of obligation that we have to be ethical. Okay. And you'll notice as you read through the class notes that there are several formulations of the categorical imperative that he goes through. A very, very simple way of putting it is that you're obligated to ask yourself, what if everybody did that? Okay. Would you be willing to have everybody act the same way that you do, or on the basis of the same principle? And then there are several articulations of that he gives. Now, it can be interpreted, and it's sometimes presented as, a very austere approach to ethics, okay, in which we have to put our inclinations aside and do our duty. You'll read about a story in the class notes. Kant was asked, well, what about a situation where you might need to tell a little white lie? For instance, perhaps someone is coming after a friend or loved one of yours to murder him or her. Now, Immanuel Kant insisted that you have a categorical imperative to tell the truth to a person like that about that person's whereabouts, your loved one, okay, which struck people as passing strange at the very least, but Kant insisted on that in an essay that he wrote that you'll be reading about. That sort of suggests to us the criticism that Hegel would eventually make of Kant's ethics. Hegel criticized Kant for completely separating ethics from our natural inclinations. And you'll be reading about that criticism at the very end of the class notes for Unit 14. So that's what we have for this week. Unit 13, class notes on life decisions, 14 on Kantian ethics. Then we have the discussion this week, a written assignment due the 27th, and then the final exam at the very end of the course, July 2nd and 3rd. All right then, so that's a good bit for you to be working on the last 2 weeks of the course. We'll talk to you once again a week from now at this time. Take it easy, study hard, and we'll talk to you again in a few days.